Going up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. In the spirit of the trees, in the spirit of living nature, with deep gratitude to all the generations before us that have brought us to the present moment, I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising, which is the second of two programs on trees, which delights me, given, as you all know, my affinity with trees as conscious siblings. As we breathe, they breathe. And so it's a pleasure to welcome you to this session. I saw something earlier today that I found a little shocking. I've been traveling, I'm in California, but I've been tracking, I thought, fairly closely the fires that have been breaking out all over Europe. But I want to just share my screen just for a second so that people can see what's happening in Europe right now. You know, we hear the headlines in Portugal and Spain, but if you look at the dots all over France, Germany, Italy, all Eastern Europe, Ukraine, into Greece, Turkey, into Russia, and Azerbaijan and Armenia and so forth. But if you see where the Ukraine is right above the Black Sea there, you know, we're hearing the headlines about the war. We're not hearing the headlines about the fires. So that is what's happening in Europe as trees all over that beautiful region of the world are burning with, again, record temperatures. Here in California, the oak fire that broke out several days ago, this morning, they said it was moving so fast that the authorities had no way to even begin thinking about a strategy for containment. And these are the trees of the Sequoia National Forest. These are the trees bumping up against Yosemite National Park, where they have that precious stand of 500 sequoias that are left. So in India, similarly, and in other parts of Africa, the trees are burning as our climate continues to spin out of control. And as you know, in Siberia, the vast swath of Siberia, which is up to recently been frozen permafrost, it's been burning for several years as the fires blaze up in the summers and then go underground and just burn. And that's the most dangerous aspect of climate change before us, and that is the massive release of methane. So all that's happening in our world today. So this program yesterday and today on how we as humans, having devastated the planet, and in the last 60, 70 years, cut down 50% of the trees on the planet, what we can yet do to understand both the symbiotic relationship between humans and trees, the way trees communicate. As we discovered yesterday's, trees have a consciousness that is not isolated like we humans are, but is a collective consciousness with a capacity to communicate, to feel, to express emotions, just like humans, but in completely different ways. So I'm delighted to welcome back Jim Conroy, who has a PhD in plant pathology. He's been studying trees and caring for trees, and his partner, Basha Alexander. We have with us today, my friends, two tree whisperers, and they're going to lead us in our opening meditation and then go into a deeper dive about how trees work, how they communicate, and how we can hold in our consciousness, the consciousness of the trees, and communicate with them and heal them and nurture them in all kinds of ways. So Jim and Basha, welcome to Humanity Rising.
Oh, thank you. So
Thank you
beautifully
so much,
said.
Jim.
Thank you for that lovely introduction of us and that very sad introduction to the state of the world right now with all these fires. It just makes everything that we're saying more and more urgent, and we're very passionate about it. So you'll hear us speaking with a lot of passion. Okay, so let's begin. All right, we have to share our screen. There we go. All right, so our talk today, Mend Trees in Climate Extremes, how a consciousness-based approach might be humanity's last hope for a livable planet. So a word about myself. I champion partnering with nature and show people how to get there. And if you want to find out more about me, go to partnerwithnature.org and click on the About menu.
And I save trees by healing trees from the inside out. That's what I do, from the inside out. Work on the inside of the trees. You can find out more about me at thetreewhisperer.com and click on the About menu.
So we've recently launched our new school, BioBalia Institute School, and we've written 7 books. We've been at this for 20 years, and all this time we've been developing what we now call consciousness-based collaborative healing methods. And our commitment is to partnering with nature and restoring a livable planet. But the really important thing to know about us is that we are tree lovers, earth and Gaia lovers, and we want to help restore a livable planet. Okay, Jim.
So all of the climate extremes, there are many in the world. We've in the many around the globe, we've talked about extreme heat, warmer nights, big problem. Okay, winter, summer, anytime, warmer nights, big problem. Starting. That's our first sign that we're getting some global warming here. But then we have the extreme heat. Okay, drought, wildfires, all of these things, stronger storms, and the species loss, and all of these things. These are the climate extremes and their impacts, which are hurting the trees, plants, and the forests everywhere. And can people protect those forests from climate extremes and empower themselves in the face of those dangers? Well, when we're done today, hopefully you'll be able to see, yes, you can. But here again, these are some of the conditions. See that drought there? That's Lake Oroville in California. 2 years ago in 2019, that was already up to the top of that green. All right. And just give you some idea how that water has gone down. All right. And then, of course, there's fires, storms, and wind. Big problem. I keep hearing from people all the time, help us with the wind. We're having more wind than we ever had before, especially a lot of people out west. I'm hearing that Colorado, Utah, that area there telling me a lot of wind. Flooding is a problem, the excess heat naturally. And then the seasonal temperatures shifts, or even the daily temperature shifts, going from during odd times of the year, like in winter, when you expect to have cold day and night, it gets very warm during the day and then turns extremely cold at night. All of those help just shift the trees right into a decline cycle. So the practical actions, we've talked about these before, and they will all help, okay, reduce climate change, all right? But they won't help already stressed trees or declining trees, forests, or ecosystem. We have to take some action with these already stressed trees, all right? Or those who are going to get stressed by this climate change, all right? Doing those other things are great. That'll reduce the climate change problem, but it's not going to help those already stressed trees.
So we ask, what is the other half of restoring livability? Moving from an unlivable to a livable planet. This is really not a casual question. And our answer to it is not more of same old, same old. So we invite you to listen closely to what we have to say, because we might be really saying something new that you haven't heard before. We might say something that was previously unimaginable. So we appreciate those of you who listened to our talk yesterday. It was a good foundation for this talk today. We gave a lot of personal things for you to do in the talk yesterday. Today, we're going to turn up that dial a little bit, because we want to point out some important differentiations that, you might not have thought of before. So moving to the other half, this is an important point. And how do we do that? What's the other half that's needed? Well, certainly being a partner with nature, having direct connection with trees, plants, and forests, and using consciousness-based collaborative healing methods. Now, this is a paradigm shift. Again, this isn't same old, same old. We're asking people to come from the plant kingdom's point of view and not a human-centric approach. And we're also talking about working from the inside out, not on the outside. This is a little bit like people. You would certainly prefer that your doctor work from the inside out with you and not just say, oh, here, put something on or put something around you. So these are important shifts of thinking. And it's all these that we suggest are humanity's last hope for a livable planet.
Yes.
So why do we say that? We say that because trees and plants and forests are already stressed and sick. And the practical things, well, they may or may not work. They may or may not work in time for the emergency that's upon us now. So that's why we say we have to heal the trees, plants, and forests.
First thing, it's about healing, but it's important to collaborate. That's what we say, talking about collaborating with the trees. You have to connect with the trees, got to get messages from the trees. And Bosch will show you this in a few minutes. And look, you got to get messages, got to find out what the tree wants. What's coming from the tree's point of view isn't what I think the tree wants. It's asking the tree. And how can you do that? We're going to show you how to do that again today. We're going to go through that again, but it's literally asking the tree what it wants. It's not saying what I think the tree needs. It's a little different approach. Okay, go ahead, Basha. So there is a global climate emergency, and we talked about this already, and you can heal and help trees. And later on, we're going to point you towards a free mini course that we've put up on our one of our websites. All right. And in there will be what we call some mindful methods. And with that, you are going to be able to go out and help heal the trees and then help protect them from these climate extremes. And what we're hoping for is that you saw the map this morning. You saw the problems all over the globe. Okay. And what we're hoping for is that people will go out there and do these healing whispers. Look, trees and plants operate in community. You're not just talking to one tree. You're talking to communities of trees, big communities of trees, and they pass the information on. And if we can get people out there all talking to their trees or these communities of trees, that will help spread the message to all of the trees and help them to continue to grow, to heal, and then continue to grow and be healthy.
And be protected from climate extremes. So what do we mean by consciousness-based collaborative healing methods? So we're hoping to give you an intellectual answer, an experiential understanding, and then talk about how this works and give you a lot of examples in climate extremes. So there's a little star there. Jim?
Yeah, these methods are botanically and physiologically correct. Here's what we're trying to do. You know, there's a lot of alternative healthcare systems out there for people, and it's all about throwing energy at the body, okay, or throwing energy here and putting energy there. Now, this is botanically correct. You will see that during this. This actually works with the different parts, systems, and functions, the specific parts, systems, and functions of the plant and the trees, okay, to specifically help them with what they're asking for when what they need. Okay, that's what this is all about. Okay, and these methods will help them do exactly that.
And it's collaborative with them. It's not coming from, well, we humans know best. So here's our agenda for today. We'll have another experience right away, and we'll also do some communication with the trees in that experience, find out what their lives are like. We're going to see collaboration in action, mending trees in climate extremes, and we'll touch on co-creating with trees and plants. So let's move on to our experience. So when you have a connection experience, you begin to see through the trees and plants' eyes. You're coming from their point of view. Trees and plants have a perspective, and you can take on that perspective. Stand in their roots. Well, that's a little bit like the old saying, walk a mile in the other person's shoes or moccasins. So you're getting a bit of compassion then. You find out what their life is like. And you be the tree. It's entering the tree's world and asking it what its life is like. So we invite you into this experience. It'll be about 12 minutes long. What happens for you? Well, you could experience tingling, warmth, some feelings of movement, your enhanced senses or engaged emotions. Thoughts or symbolism might come up from you, your own personal memories. Or if you're afraid that nothing is happening, just breathe and relax. It could just be a little bit of your concerns getting in the way. If you're actually uncomfortable, then stop. And we'd like to remind you that this connection is occurring as a bioenergy overlap. Your bioenergy, the tree's bioenergy. It's a little bit like water droplets overlapping in a pond. That's that bioenergy overlap. And then, of course, a consciousness overlap occurs. And we'll talk a little bit more about tree consciousness, Dr. Jim will, after the meditation. And there is that overlap that's possible. You may enjoy a spiritual type experience as you overlap with the spirit of the tree. Our recommendations: just set aside anything you know previously, allow yourself to have that uniquely personal experience, and take whatever you get. If you think you get a message and then you suddenly judge it, well, you're going to stop that flow. So declare this a no judgment zone. The logistics, well, it would be ideal if you could be outdoors with a tree, but if you're indoors, sit comfortably, quiet your phone. You can recall a favorite tree, look out the window, ask a houseplant to play along, or you can use my photos for inspiration. So let's begin. Please settle into your chair and breathe. Just relax. Feel protected by your invisible helpers. You may open or close your eyes at any time as you feel comfortable. Breathe and sigh. Breathe and sigh. Step 1 of the connection experience: observation and appreciation. If you're remembering your favorite tree, imagine viewing it as a whole first, in the height of its summer season. See it in its place. View its size, shape, branching. Is the canopy lush and full, or is it sparse? Take a look at its leaves. See the shapes and colors. Go to the trunk. See a multitude of shapes. Imagine feeling the textures. Move your focus to the root area. Is the soil smooth or rocky? Moist or dry? Is there plenty of room or is it limited? Your tree has a unique purpose, its own purpose for itself, not for you or anyone else, its own purpose. And your tree is trying to live the best it can to fulfill that purpose where it is. So say in your heart, I appreciate your, and fill in the blank. And that leads easily into step 2 of the connection experience, caring or affection. So focus on that quality that you appreciate and breathe and smile. If your tree has some health issues or structural issues, a sense of sympathy or empathy may arise in you. As you care, as you have affection, you may sense a new and subtle feeling, or you may have a deep caring already for the tree. Allow that to expand. And for now, say in your heart, I am your friend and partner. If you go no further with the 5 steps of the connection experience, being the tree's friend and partner is the best thing you can do. But let's go further. Step 3 of the connection experience is inner quiet. In other words, feeling calm and peaceful inside. So breathe comfortably, deeply, and slowly. You may imagine your own heart shining like the sun. Its brightness dissipates any clouds of concern. Imagine only bright sunshine inside of you and all around you. Give yourself a reassuring message, like, I am at peace. So you have a measure of inner quiet now as we move into step 4, finding out what the tree's life is like. We always ask permission. So in your heart, say quietly to the tree, I would like to get to know you better. Is that okay? And you'll probably feel a sense of calm, or you may hear the word yes, and that means you have permission. It's unlikely, but if you feel disquiet, you may stop or move to another tree. Your heart's bioenergy field is radiating out beyond your physical body. And the bioenergy field of the tree is also glowing and expanding. Both of your bioenergy fields overlap like water droplets in a pond. In that overlapping area, information can be shared and exchanged. Say quietly to the tree, I would like to find out what your life is like, and I'll begin by imagining that I am you. So I'll direct you in this. Imagine the cool of moisture enveloping the roots. Imagine the sturdiness of the trunk. Imagine flexibility in the branches. Imagine sun on the leaves. And imagine the breeze blowing through the canopy. Now let's start asking the tree some questions and receiving its answers. So you may receive its answers in a whole variety of ways. Body sensations, feelings, thoughts, metaphors, or words. And you may hear words in your inner hearing or in your heart. You may envision images or colors. Even fragrances may come. And the answers may come just as knowings. You suddenly know something. So allow yourself to receive the tree's answers in any way that works for you. And just allow this. So let's ask, what is it like to have birds landing in your branches on a sunny day? What is it like for a storm to blow your branches around? What is it like for rain to fall on your root area? What is it like for that water and nutrients in the soil to go into your roots? Do you need to have a better connection between your roots and the tubes in your trunk? What is it like for that fluid, the water and nutrients, to flow in a circulation tube all the way up to a tiny leaf? And what is it like for that tiny leaf to grow? What is it like for that leaf to make food from sunlight? Do you need to make more food for yourself in all of your leaves? What is it like for the flow of fluids and food to move through all of your circulation tubes, up and down? Are there blockages in your circulation system? What is it like to live in the community of other trees and plants and other beings? What is it like to stand in this one place for a lifetime? So now take a deep breath, but hold on to that feeling. Your consciousness and the tree's consciousness are overlapping, so you can do step 5, exchanging messages. So open yourself to receive a message from the tree. Take the first thought, feeling, or idea that you get, whether or not it makes sense. Now give a message to the tree. You might say, I care for you. In the fifth step, exchanging messages, the deep wisdom, spirit, and intelligence in your tree wants to be your friend. Your tree wants to tell you about its life and tell you about its health, especially in climate extremes. So it may take a little more patience for you. You might have to return a few times. But if you're willing to take the first thing you get, to accept it as information from the tree or as a message for you, then you will gain confidence. And be sure to enjoy yourself. Have a good time doing this. You're on your way to more personal inner peace and partnership with your tree and all of nature. So in your heart, say to your tree, I'll return and thank you. Take a deep breath, relax your focus, stretch your back and shoulders, and return to your human reality. So we'd love to hear about your experience. And you can share it with me at partnerwithnature.org. So now you can say, I am a partner with nature. Declare that. I am a partner with nature. That will make a big difference in your life and in the lives of trees. It's even more than just, well, I love trees. That's almost a little bit distant. But when you say, I am a partner, that means that there's a working together. It means that you're coordinating and caring and living in balance with trees and plants. So what is our special meaning for partnering with nature? So we really love that people go out and walk in the woods and look at the trees and enjoy them and even feel healed by them. We love that because people are engaging with nature. But we mean something a little more than that. Partnering with nature, certainly it's learning new information, but it's doing what you've just done, developing a deeper relationship, being the tree, asking questions, getting answers, and exchanging messages. The rest of this talk now is going to be about healing and saving trees from these damaging effects of climate extremes, and also empowering yourself to have a better future. No, not to have, to create, to co-create a better future on a livable planet.
So, trees everywhere are generally not healthy. They might look healthy on the outside, even if they look green. The inside, the internal parts and functions aren't connected up. Okay, they're stressed. Climate change stresses trees. You know what happens is with trees, well, first of all, you can see on some of these trees. And one of the things, the first things to look for in a stressed tree is to know if a tree is sick, is to look at the top of the tree. You start seeing no leaves in the upper branches or very small leaves in the upper branches, you know that tree is sick, okay, is hurting. And one of the other things about that is you know, a tree the first year, it can be sick 1 year and it loses 10% of its leaves. You'll never see that. The second year it loses another 10%. You won't see that. Usually it takes about 4 years, 5 years before you begin to see that a tree is very, very sick. Okay. And that's one of the, it's kind of a little bit of a fooling thing. Okay. But it's just important to know. And you know what else though? You can even ask the tree, are you healthy? Or what is going on for you? And find out about its health before they look like this. Very important. One of the things that happens with trees is is when they're sick or they've been compromised by climate change, is the internal functionality gets plugged. You know, this is a very big problem in trees. What happens is the flow of fluids and food in the tree slows down, and a little like our hearts, our arteries, you know, get hardening of the arteries and things like that, a little bit like that with trees too, and they get blockages. And especially in this zone right there at the soil line, you know, trees uptake water and nutrients through the roots, and it moves through the intercellular spaces. About the time it gets to the soil line, there is where the xylem and phloem, those tubes are formed. Xylem takes the fluids up, phloem moves the fluids down. But right about there, when it moves, fluids move from the intercellular spaces and start to move into the xylem and phloem. That's where a lot of blockages occur. All right. And certain species more there, others further up into the tree. It's and what can do that also is climate change. That's a big problem. These sudden changes in climate can bring that about. But it is possible to move, okay, to having good flow inside of the tree. And so we're saying interact with the tree about its parts, systems, and functions from the inside, not put products or services on the outside of the tree. Work on the inside of the tree. And it's possible to do this with our consciousness-based collaborative healing methods. So, you know, you have a consciousness, trees and plants have a consciousness. And they can overlap, okay? Very important, they can overlap. I want to read you this. This is from Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love. They say that an oak tree is brought into creation by two forces at the same time. Obviously, there is the acorn from which it all begins, the seed which holds all the promise and potential which grows into a tree. Everybody can see that. But only a few can recognize there is another force operating here as well, the future tree itself, which wants so badly to exist that it pulls the acorn into being, drawing the seedling forth with longing out of the void, guiding the evolution from nothingness to maturity. In this respect, say the Zens, it is the acorn it is the oak tree, that creates the very acorn from which it was born. All right. So consciousness comes before form. That's the most important thing in here. Go ahead.
So the Institute for Noetic Sciences, they've done consciousness research for, I don't know, a good 20 years, says this in their science position statement: consciousness is regarded as the most basic component of reality. So what they're saying there is that consciousness comes before form. So human form, earth form, any form, consciousness is senior to that. And they say consciousness can perceive and influence things non-locally. So that reads to me, consciousness has a causal influence.
So we say, you know, humans have a brain and rational thinking. A plant has a consciousness, and it is their guiding light. That consciousness drives its goals and purposes, right? And we overlap with that plant's consciousness to find out what that consciousness is looking for. What are its goals? What are its design and its ideal design, innate potentials and purposes? So goals, I want to be big. I want to be strong. Okay. Anything like that. Ideal design. I want to be an oak tree. I don't want to be an apple tree. Okay. Innate potentials is I want to put on acorns. I don't want to put on apples. Okay. And purposes, every tree, every plant has a purpose. Even the weeds that cover the ground have a purpose. Weeds hold the soil in place to keep the soil from eroding.
And yes, as Dr. Jim has been mentioning, human and plant consciousness can overlap. So in that overlapping area, information is shared and exchanged. And for the human, That is an experience of right brain intuitive skills, not so much left brain logic. So that's what it's like for the human. And what we understand for the trees, what it's like for them, it's just normal. It's how they operate. They operate in a sharing of consciousness. If you want a little bit more about the relevant sciences, go to partnerwithnature.org and search on the words reading list. Okay, prickly city. So the cat says to the skull of the cow, so what's the point? I can't figure it all out. And no one's talking. If you came back, what would you tell us? And the little girl says, probably moo. And the cat says, I never would have guessed that the answer would be so bovine-centric. So, humanity's challenge is being human-centric. We are people, we are humans, so it's water to the fish for us. It's all the I want, I need, I think it should be this way. My opinion is I will do, I come first. That's very natural for us. And we have to begin to start seeing that. And that human-centric attitude is very much supported in this current, but now obsolete, worldview. People can control, manipulate, and dominate nature. Well, that started back in the 17th century when science was being invented. And then my science makes me superior to nature, and of course, humans know best. So this generates a whole variety of human-centric invisible beliefs. And the one I want to point to right here is, I can do what I want to trees and plants because I'm smart, I'm educated. Well, let me ask you, how's that been working out? Not so well, we think. So what's the possibility here? We want to differentiate something. Human-centric versus nature-centric. It's that humans know best, but that doesn't honor nature's consciousness and wisdom. And we show you an example of conventional tree care. Look, we're not saying that that's bad. They do very good work, very good people, very well-intentioned. They're just operating in old mindset thinking. They're human-centric, and by the way, they also, the other thing we want to differentiate is they also operate on the outside, not really on the inside. So, but right now we're talking about human-centric versus nature-centric. So how do we make that shift to that new worldview? How do we leave behind all that, maybe a little arrogant, humans know best, to I am a partner with nature and becoming nature-centric? And I'll point to this comparable statement here. Trees and all of nature have an inner intelligence that I can respect and ask for information. Ask for information. So we want to point out this to you a little bit more, these invisible ways that you might be human-centric. We ask you to be mindful about this. So when you're gardening, is it like, well, I want to have this certain plant? Or when you're transplanting, well, I want this plant here. Or when you're dealing with pests, well, I don't want those pesky fill in the blank. Or some people are planning construction projects. And, well, I want to build this addition on my house, so I have to take down these trees. And then there's the last one that's the most tricky of all. Even when you think you're doing good, like you're planting natives, right? You're using organics, or you're using biodynamics, or some other approach for trees and plants. But think about it. you may be doing it from that humans know best attitude. What are we suggesting? Ask the trees, plants, and nature for their input. So, hey, do you fit in this garden? Can we mutually work out a place for you to live? Or, you know, I know you're kind of a pest, but I want you to, you know, kind of stay in this designated place if you can. You know, we give you this place to live. And they just want to live, those pests. That's what they want.
We will give you some examples later on about transplanting and about planning construction projects. We'll give you examples of that in co-creation. That's how to co-create things.
And the pest one also.
In the pest one also, yes. And it's very important. You know, this is ask them first. We're not saying that all of these organics and everything aren't good for the plant. Well, I'm a certified organic land care professional. Okay. I actually, you know, very totally, if the plant needs something, it says, look, I want some compost, or I want this, or I want that. It's organic. Okay. That's what. Okay. So we're saying those things are right, but don't start there. Find out from the plant what it wants first. Heal the inside of the plant, then find out what it needs in order to keep it healthy. That's kind of what we're saying.
Yeah. It's asking them for their input, and then you're collaborating and even co-creating with them. So here's a little story. We talked recently to a tree farm group. These are good people. They love trees. They want to do the best they can for their trees. They're just operating in the old mindset of thinking. They're operating in humans know best. And we feel that that attitude doesn't really honor nature's consciousness or nature's wisdom. Look, some intervention is helpful, like, for instance, controlled burns in parks, so that the fires stay low and cool, and they don't get these giant hot fires that burn the top of the trees. No, low, cool fires. That's what we want, right? And some human planning is necessary because, face it, nature is pretty boxed in by us humans now all over the planet, especially in parks. So it's not bad. It just is a little old mindset thinking. It's human-centric, coming from the human point of view. There are human agendas, human priorities, human planning. We're asking you to differentiate that from being nature-centric and asking nature for its input.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. So you've already had your connection experience. You did some mutual communication in that. Now we want to look toward collaborating, asking questions, getting answers, and then responding appropriately based on the answers that you get. Okay, so what question would you ask? Well, would you ask, what do you need? Fertilizer, pruning products? Well, obviously, we're recommending against that initially, because you might be slipping back into that human-centric, humans know best thing. And you might also be thinking about on the outside rather than from the inside out. So we recommend that you ask questions like, first, do this first. What is your life like? What is going on with your health? Or whatever yes-no type of question might be appropriate. And you're doing that in that bioenergy overlap and in that consciousness overlap. So a little review, we touched on this yesterday, but it can't hurt to do it again. How do you ask a question to a tree? Well, have fun, play with it. This sounds a lot like those 5 steps of the connection experience meditation. Observe, appreciate, find inner quiet, ask your question, and then be allowing as you get your answers. You probably want to take some notes and then say, thank you, I am your partner.
You know, before I ever work on a tree, I do that. I ask a tree what's going on for. I find out what's going on in its life, and I get to these answers here from the tree. Okay, and that's the first thing. I want to know what's going on for that tree, what it needs, what it wants. Okay, and it's kind of key because then when I'm working on the tree, or you're using the conscious methods, mindful methods we're going to give you later, you know what the tree needs. You could hold that in your consciousness that you're helping the tree attain those things. Okay.
Attain those things. I want more roots, all these various things. And what does this have to do with mending trees in climate extremes? Okay. Well, we've asked a lot of trees in climate extremes, what is your life like? And we'd like to share some of those with you. So Bryce Canyon National Park, Utah. Look at that poor tree. Oh my gosh. What if the wind comes, right? What if a derecho comes, a strong wind? Well, it says, I need to grow more roots on the uphill side. I need to grow more upper branches for balance in the wind. And this is a whole grove of beautiful coastal live oaks in north central California. They're operating in a lot of drought for a long time now. And this tree said to us, rain rolls right down the slope. I need to make more food. My circulation is blocked from years of heat. I need more roots to grow in balance with my leaves. Pretty smart for a tree.
So this tree was in the Dixie fire, okay? And this was in a badly burned area. Okay, there wasn't an awful lot of green left in this area. Okay, so we asked this tree, what's going on? And I think what we said yesterday was, look, when we're in a fire area, we pick a tree and we earmark that tree as the one. This is the one we're going to follow. Now we treat that tree and all of the surrounding trees. But this tree, this is what the tree told us. Before the fire, we were stressed trees. That's why we burned. However, I am still alive. I am still alive. I want to regrow and connect with my community of trees. This was a hedge, and this is what the tree said. We had an extremely warm spell in winter. So last winter we had a long, very warm spell. Since the ground was frozen, we couldn't pull up any water while our leaves were transpiring in the warm weather. So that dried out our leaves. We need to regrow. Okay, they were dead, so the leaves desiccated on this plant, and the plant needs to regrow. Okay, that's the kind of things that can go on. Now you say, yeah, put fertilizer on the tree. No, get the inside of that tree back working again first. Then find out what else it might need on the outside to help it out. But I guarantee it's probably plugged up on the inside, needs these mindful methods to help get it moving first, and get some movement inside those tissues. That will help it grow faster. And then if it needs some compost or something like that, that's just an addition to help it out. Go ahead. And this is a live oak in the Bay Area, California. More extreme heat is coming. Trees know when the extreme heat is coming. They know long before we do what's coming. My circulation gets blocked so easy because I've had damage at my roots. A variety of things have happened to this tree. So it's hard for me to get enough food and fluids up to my really high branches and leaves. Asking for help. Help me get the fluids and food up there. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what the tree is asking for. Go ahead.
So the Thomas Fire happened around Santa Barbara, California. And after the fire, it rained in the mountains. And all of that debris came down in a flow all the way down to the ocean. And it went through this beautiful grove of live oaks in Montecito. And this fellow who was instrumental in helping to dig out these live oaks is pointing to how high that debris was on these trees. And he and others helped to dig that out. So the tree said, we were in shock after the flooding. Kind people dug the soil and boulders off of our roots so that we would not die. Our roots are breathing better now. And by the way, we worked with these trees as well. And,
Yeah,
and
the other side of that story is, I asked this guy, I said, they had to dig out these trees by hand. They used some equipment on some of the major areas, but as you get close to the trees, they have to dig them out by hand, because you get close with the equipment, you're going to bump into the tree and hurt the tree. So they dug the trees out. They had to dig out right around the tree by hand. Okay. And I asked the guy, so how did people feel after they did that? And he said, they were all exhilarated after it. This is the trees giving energy to the people while the people are helping the trees. Okay.
Yep. It's that
Clear
mutual healing that we talk about, and we do teach a course about mutual healing as well. Okay, so a derecho came and blew all those trees down near Winter Park, California.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. And we saw that on our drive-in last year. So the remaining trees, the standing trees, said, the winds are stronger than ever. We need to have more roots and better circulation of food and fluid to withstand high winds. And lastly,
this was after Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey.
But it could be after any storm anywhere.
Yeah, this is the important thing. Okay. These trees lost limbs. I lost this section of my body in a big storm. I won't have those leaves next year. Big thing. We need the leaves to make food for them. My food making ability has been compromised. I will have to use my stored food carefully over the winter. In spring, I will have to work hard to replace those leaves so that they can make more food to feed me. In other words, more food to support the tree.
So we remind you that practical things, yep, humanity has to do this, but they're not going to heal the already stressed or declining trees, forests, or ecosystems. Climate extremes.
Yeah, these are the big problem. Okay. And what are we talking here? The day-to-day, too hot, too cold, the warmer nights we talked about, the seasonal shifts, early springs, the early or late autumns, okay, those kind of things, stretches of warm in the middle of the winter. All of these are temperature extremes that cause a lot of trouble with the trees. Moisture changes, drought, flooding, stronger storms, the wind, like I said, and then the vicious cycle with the biotic stresses, because what's happened is the trees get sick, and then they're more susceptible to the insects or diseases. And who can solve those problems? We can solve those, but we can't solve those problems using the same kind of thinking we used when we created those problems. It takes a higher level of thought, but we can solve these problems. Go ahead. Trees and plants. This is what the ideal looks like. Okay, the ideal looks like. Trees and plants are like an orchestra. Each part and system needs to be in tune with itself and in tune with the others. Okay, an orchestra, when they're warming up, okay, everybody's playing a different tune, okay, and there's no rhyme or reason, okay, to what they're playing. Conductor comes out there and starts leading them all, and then all of a sudden there's beautiful music to all of these instruments. Okay, that's the way it needs to be inside of the tree. All right, and we have these systems and these functions here, and all of those feedback loops need to be connected and working together. Well, what happens with stress? They're not working together. Okay, those feedback loops and network patterns are broken. Circulation gets compromised. The sick tree, the network pattern here between photosynthesis, food making, circulation, and cell division, they're not operating together. And then the network, then the community falls apart between the various trees. So I just want to put this into what comes first, the sick tree or the insect and disease. A lot of people right away This tree is sick. It's got an insect. You gotta spray that tree. Okay. No. Okay. That's not what caused the problem. The tree is sick on the inside first. Okay. Very important. Remember what I said. Trees first year lose 10% of their leaves. Second years lose another 10%. So it's 3 or 4 years up the road. And yes, then the insects do come in. All right. They do. But you have to get, but the inside of the tree needs to be repaired. Anyway, what happens? Trees, you know, they live in communities. All right. And how do they live in communities? Well, root, mycorrhizae, touching. Yeah, that's the conventional thought process, but really they send out a vibrational song. That's how the trees connect into community. All right. When a tree is sick, it wants help from the rest of the community. So it sings an offbeat song. All right. It's asking for help from the community. Community, I need some help. I need some food energy, some fluid energy. I need this. I need that. Okay. That's what it's doing. Remember, there's a total community there. Guess who else hears that song? That's what the insects and diseases hear. Okay. That's how they know what trees to go to. All right. Now, so why can't trees or plants heal themselves? You know, we said they're sick. When they're stressed, their functionality gets all disconnected. And so what really happens? Sometimes they can heal themselves, but when they're sick, they get stuck or confused. They can't manage their inner resources. The sequence of systems are not in sync. Inner connections are broken. They can't grow.
It looks like Jim and Basha are frozen. Hi, everyone. We're going to take a little station break here. It looks like they are frozen. Oh, there they are.
Okay.
There we are.
Oh,
Okay.
you're back.
We're back. Sorry, who knows what happened?
Who knows? Cyber gods.
Yeah, cyber gods. There you go.
Carry on. Carry on.
Carry on.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. So trees are living beings whose internal functionality can be healed. And we can do this from the inside out. Okay. So if you look to the right here, okay, you know, there again, work with the tree, use these mindful methods. I do a different system. I'll show you that in a minute, but help the tree increase its food making capacity, get that circulation back going again, so it can move the food out to those growing points. Cell division can take place and the tree once again begins to grow. That is the healing of that tree. That brings the network patterns all back together again, and all back connected again. This is another example. Okay, circulation blocked to circulation open and flowing. This can happen with these conscious collaboration that we're going to show you a little bit later. Okay, what do? Well, like an athlete, I get in the zone. I use my scientific knowledge to ask the right questions. My scientific knowledge is physiologically based. Okay, what's going on inside of you? Okay, I first find out what the tree needs, what it wants. I want to make more food. I want to grow more roots. I want to do this. I want to grow more leaves up top. I need more branches. I need more vascular tissue. What's going on? So I ask that first. And that's what I'm asking. Then we work collaboratively together to help the tree, excuse me, with a path to healing. All right. And I'll show you an example of what a path to healing is here in a few minutes. Then I offer it information so it can heal itself. That's the whole idea here. All right. Come on. I'm the pass-through I get insight and direction from my spirit guides and the intelligence of nature. I do not apply energy. And the other thing, I don't apply my will. This is what you ought to do. This is what you ought to do. It's none of that. This is, how about this? What about this? How can we do this together? How can we do that together? And we work it out so it works for the tree. It has to work, and it has to be in the right succession, because to say, okay, to grow, to make more food, how do you got to get there? Okay, we got to give the tree a path to get there. You can't just say, oh, well, make more food in your leaves. Okay, how do you do that? Okay, and it's working with the tree to help it develop that path to get there. Okay, that's what this work is all about. Okay, and again, I'm the pass-through. I'm just working with the tree, and when the tree, let me tell you, the tree tells me when it's got that path. It knows when I know it, and the tree knows it when the path is right for the tree. Okay, very clearly, it's right. And we have put these mindful methods together that we're going to show you a little bit later, that are simple and easy and embedded with this power. And I got to tell you, they work, okay, because they're based on what the tree wants and needs.
Fabulous.
And what's the other part of this? This is almost like something to me. This is very important to me. So the slide had to come up. Concerning matter, we have been all wrong. What we have called matter is really energy, vibration, whose vibration has been lowered to be perceivable to the senses. There is no matter. There's only light and sound. I believe this. Okay. I work with this every day. This is what it's all about. There is that tree is a ball of energy and light. Okay. And that's what it's all about. And sound too. Okay. And smell. Okay. Trees push out. I'll tell you, the other way they tell me a lot of times is I'll get a smell. I'll give you a perfect example. The other day, I was working on some, believe it or not on trees, but I was working on some crops, some celery, actually just outside of a greenhouse. They were still in flats. Okay. Very small, very young celery, working on them. Got them all worked on, left them that day, came back about 3 days later. I wanted to check them again. How are you guys doing? Just walked outside of that greenhouse. Let me tell you, there was a smell of celery you couldn't miss. Okay, all out there, and it wasn't my nose right up against the celery plants. It was outside there. Trees do the same thing. They are not afraid to let you know you're on track with working with them. Okay, they can't speak to you out loud, but boy, they do send out smells, and you can see light if you know how to work with that properly. Go ahead, Basha. All right. This was some redwoods in California after the campfire in Paradise. Again, you can see what those trees look like, burned in late 2018. You can see we got there March 2019. You can see what those trees look like, burnt. Okay, by May, you can see what happens. You get the new shoots coming out of the bark of the tree. Go ahead. Okay. By July of that same year, you can see these trees had come back considerably. Okay. And here's the important thing I want to tell you again about this. You see, these trees want to grow after a fire. They absolutely want to grow after a fire. But what happens is they're not connected to their resources. They're in shock. Okay. So very often they'll try to grow, then they'll fail. And what we do is help them get connected to their resources, get their parts, systems, and functions internally connected, so then they don't fail and they can regain their health and begin to grow again. That's what we do. And it's in that path to healing. That helps them do it. It's this step first, this step next, this step next. I'll show you an example of it in a few minutes. This is what these trees look like in 2021. We missed being there in 2020 because of COVID. We did not travel in 2020. So this is what these trees look like in 2021. Beautiful, nice, big, healthy trees. Okay. This is the Caldor fire. Again, and we treated these trees first in autumn, went back again this past April. This is the decline cycle on these trees. All right. This is why they burn. All right. Well, this isn't why they burn, but this was the decline cycle prior to them burning. They had less food available, less circulation, less growth, less health. Okay. They were caught up. They just couldn't make enough food for themselves. Therefore, they had less circulation. They couldn't grow enough. then that gave them less health. And this was just a cycle. Let me tell you something else that happened with these trees. Go back
Oh,
one
go
slide,
back.
please.
Sorry.
One other thing. Okay. Why did this fire occur? Okay. Let me tell you why. Because some of the species were more susceptible to this cycle than others. Okay. Some were able to sustain longer than the others. But what was happening is the species were getting out of balance. Mother Nature said, okay, time out. We want to get back in balance again. Burn. Okay. What happens with burn? First of all, we get the people out of here. Okay. That's first thing that happens. Very important. People invaded their territory. We want them out of here. You think they'll just come back? They don't come back. Not so fast. Okay. It gives them time to regenerate, gives the forest a chance to regenerate, gives Mother Nature a chance to regenerate, start to grow again, bring the species back. The species can become in balance. Okay. And then let me show you this. Now, then we help them with this path to healing. Okay. Again, we're working on one tree or several trees, but we're working with communities of trees. And what's that path to healing? They use stored food. They drive that circulation. They break down that stored food. That drives circulation. So then they can move the food and fluid around. They can differentiate new tissue. Remember, you see those shoots coming out of the bark? I showed you. They can differentiate new tissues. Okay. Make some more food, more health. Okay. And then gradually, they don't need to use their stored food because they're making some food down here. They can use that food that they're making to continue this cycle. It's botanically and physiologically correct for the trees. It's just not throwing energy at the trees. Okay, Basha. This is the burned giant sequoias. All right, and go ahead, Basha. And this is the path to healing here. Again, what did the trees want? All right. They want to be healthy, grow in sequence with each other. Guess what? That's the community effect. We want to be in sequence with each other, share food and fluid, communicate with each other, increase survivability of the burned trees. Okay. So how do we do that? Increase circulation, break down some food. We got some stored food, break down that food, increase that circulation, start developing new leaves fully developed. That can help us make some more food. Okay. Got to get this. Okay. First, got to get the food flowing first. You see the steps here? This is what the tree needs. You can't just jump from go ahead and develop new leaves. You got to work through this because that's the steps the tree needs. Okay. And at first, it doesn't see those steps. After a while, right about here, when it starts thinking, when it sees the step, oh, develop new leaves, that helps me make more food. Part systems and functions get fed. They'll get fed, and then I can feed my roots. The tree catches on, and boom, it's going to go. Okay. It's just going to take off and do that. Okay. Then what happens? It differentiates new growth. And then it'll continue that cycle and it'll fulfill those goals it has. All right.
And you didn't tell them what to do. You worked it out together.
Right. All right. So this is protection from drought and excess heat. All I want to tell you this is it took us a few years to work this out. So, one step was healing, but how do we protect the trees from drought and excess heat? So I've been kind of working with the various trees. This is one in Mill Creek, California. We finally came up with this tree, and this one we call Mighty. High was across the road and up the hill, and we could never get the high. So it was high and mighty. Okay. That's who we were working with there. They said, look, we can make more food in our leaves. And you help us do that. Okay. You help heal us. We can do that. And then we can make more leaves, get the element of fire working a little better with the leaves. Okay. Increase photosynthesis, photobiological activity in the leaves, get the photosynthesis going. Okay. We can make more food in our leaves. All right. With that food, we can drive more circulation inside of the tree. So during periods of drought, what we're going to do, what we're suggesting you do is for the trees to do is to use that circulation and that food not to grow, but to just keep the tissues moist. Okay. That's what we're saying. All right. Just keep the tissues moist, not to grow. Went to Home Tree, my giant sequoia in Calaveras State Park. home tree says, hey, that's pretty good. That's a 2004-year-old tree. A lot of wisdom in there. Okay. Knows what it's talking about. Says, yep, that sounds like a pretty good treatment to me. I'll help broadcast that out for you. Okay. Okay. So we did that. All right. Go to the next one. Then we came back to Stockton, California, came to these trees. And we started talking about this treatment. First of all, did a healing treatment on them, like I showed you. Then talked about protecting from drought and excess heat. They said, yeah, we see that treatment. Okay. But what we really want to do is do kind of a sliding scale kind of thing. So this is the collaboration with the trees. This is the sliding scale. Okay. You know, it's, so what we'll do is at first we're going to make more food. And at first we're going to continue to grow and then gradually cut down the growth and gradually just keep increasing the circulation so we get enough food and fluids into that tissue. So when the extreme heat comes, that is well moist, our tissues are well moist, and we're not affected by that extreme heat or drought. Okay, that's what they're saying. So it's kind of a sliding scale. Then when we get enough moisture, we'll go back and use that food to drive more growth again. Okay, so kind of a sliding scale kind of a thing. All right, which I thought was good. And in this manner, rainfall and moisture conditions improve. When those conditions improve, trees and plants that are using this method don't need to recover from drought stress first in order to resume normal growth. I'll tell you what, if a tree gets drought stressed, that doesn't just instantly turn around when they get drought stress. You're losing 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 or 5 years in the tree's life. And you have to make sure the tree doesn't go into a decline cycle in the meantime. Okay, so that's why this is so important. And we give you some very simple methods to do this. All right. Work with the Great Triple Oak in New Jersey. Help me with, talked about the drought, excess heat, and temperature swings. There's some things we have to do differently in temperature swings because this tree experienced it this past winter. We had 65-degree days in the East Coast between Christmas and New Year's. Very unusual. Usually 32 is high for that time of year. This year was double that, 65. Okay. And we do have drought and excess heat, but the temperature swings is another piece. So it's kind of like changing that system that we're talking about there and helping it accommodate temperature swings. All right.
I don't think we have time for a lot of these.
Okay.
So we'll touch on co-create. Which one do you want to do?
Use Mrs.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There.
Okay. Co-creation. Okay. For transplanting. All right. So this woman you can see she had a patio and these very tall spruces were blocking her patio. Now she didn't want it. She had a whole line of these. Okay. And she did not want to cut them down. So we did is I got in there. I was working on some other trees and she said, can you help with these? And I said, yeah. She said, I don't want to take these trees down. I don't want to cut them down, but I need to move them. So we did, first of all, we asked the trees where they wanted to live on the property. That was the first thing. And the trees showed us a spot where they wanted to live. Okay. Then I treated them the day before they were going to be moved. All right. Got their healthy, got their parts, systems, and functions going again. All right. Then they were moved, came back the next day, treated them again after they got moved. All right. And the trees went on to go up. I should show the next shot. And the trees went on to be nice, healthy trees. And here's the important thing. Okay, a couple of things. Number one, this was co-created. We asked the trees where they wanted to live, how they wanted to be planted, where we could put them. We alerted the trees as to what was going on. They absolutely knew they were going to get transplanted. Nothing that was very clear to them. And it was a co-creation all the way because we asked them where they want to live, how they want to be planted, what we can do, how can we accommodate them? Okay, that was the whole piece. So I asked the guys who transplanted the trees. I called them the night they were transplanted. I said, well, how did it go? I said, it went really good. I said, how did the trees come out? Did they come out all right? Because, they had to dig these trees out by hand. And they said, yeah, they came out extremely easy. And I said, what do you think caused that? And there was silence on the phone. And all of a sudden he says, we thought it was something you did, Yeah, we co-created with the trees. That's it. Go ahead, Bosh.
Okay, so we return to our original question. Can humanity save trees, plants, and forests and restore livability to the planet? And we answer yes, but we have to do it with healing the already stressed and declining trees. So these are the other half of what's needed. Consciousness-based collaborative healing methods, and we're recommending what we call our mindful methods. What are they? They're visualizations, healing whispers, and inner journeys. They're simple, easy, quick. Anybody can do them. And the important point is that we're not just throwing energy at trees. We're not using some recycled human system. It's botanically and physiologically correct information.
Working from the inside out.
Yep. For the plant kingdom. So we know there's an emergency right now, and we are offering a free mini course.
If you will go to this site, just pick the site.
Yes, it's not a www. It's https://BioValiaInstituteSchool.teachable.com. Our school is on the Teachable platform.
And Basha will put it in the chat, and it will be available on our Partner with Nature website as well. And here's the thing, in here, we have these whispers and mindful methods to both help heal trees and also help protect them from excess heat and fire, and drought, all right? And it's a real opportunity. I really want everybody out there to do this. This is a chance to save the trees. When initially in this talk today, Jim showed you a map, where the trees are burning. Here's a real opportunity for you to help the trees, And I hope everybody will cite it. It's the course is short, just gives you a few information steps, helps set it all up, and then it goes through the various mindful methods. There's 7 of them. It doesn't take you very long to do.
Simple and easy.
Simple and easy. But it's a global opportunity to help all the trees in these stressful conditions.
Simple and easy, but power-packed with everything Jim was talking about the way he works with trees. And we're going to be adding to that soon a foundation course for more understanding about mending trees in climate extremes, and then some courses for specific climate situations like drought and fire, storms and high winds, and these temperature shifts. So humanity's last hope for a livable planet. Yes, we feel that partnering with nature is part of that last hope, and people everywhere using these collaborative consciousness approaches, these mindful methods that we're offering, and that can help us to start restoring a livable planet. So who's going to do that? Well, if not you, then who? And if not now, then when?
And this is a good opportunity right now. Sign up for that course, and take that course and do those mindful methods for all over the trees.
The emergency is so great around the whole planet. So you are that hope. And we give thanks to the spirit of life in all beings. And please contact us, whisperer@thetreewhisperer.com and naturepartner@partnerwithnature.org. So we thank you so much, and we'll take questions, comments, conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, dear ones. What a marvelous presentation again today. What was coming through to me very powerfully as I was sitting here listening is the importance of empathy and the importance of we humans somehow moving beyond our anthropocentricity and really getting into the trees and getting into the roots and the trunk and the leaves and the consciousness as best we can. And as I was imagining the trees that I was attuning to while you were leading the meditation and so forth, I found myself really both challenged but deeply satisfied that you can actually do it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yes, it's all of that old paradigm thinking that has conditioned us away from our right brain, intuitive, heart-centered aspects. I mean, that's, that should be equal with the logic side of us. The two sides of we humans need to operate together. And that left brain side has just gotten a little out of balance. So we can do that. We can connect with trees. And that's why I've made that 5-step connection experience actually very simple and easy. Just starting with looking at the tree. Oh my goodness, this tree is so beautiful. I never looked at it in that detail before. That's the beginning.
And I was going to ask you, Jim, since you've been the one that's really gone so deeply in, as you've done this over 20, 30 years now,
20.
How has your consciousness of trees evolved? And also, how has it affected your sense of spirituality?
Oh, it's, oof.
That's big.
That's big. That's a big one. That's a big one. Yeah. My consciousness is just, when I'm with a tree, I climb into the tree. I'm in with the tree. I'm there. It's not me. It's on the tree. Okay. I'll tell you the truth. I believe probably in a past lifetime, I probably was a tree. Okay. And I seriously, yeah, no doubt. And I think that's why I'm here on this earth to do this work. Okay. Because I think I'll just lay it out for you. I think I was cut down at one point and I said, look, this can't go on. Okay. And please send me back to earth so I can do something about this. Okay. And I really believe this. Okay. And in fact, I know it. In fact, I say I believe it. I know it. I know that. And I climb in with the tree and I know what's going on inside of that tree. And that has changed. And my spirituality, yes, has naturally evolved out of that. Okay. And it's like connecting with the tree, connecting with all the beings around the tree, connecting with the whole ecosystem, the light. And then there's, I talk about the light, talk a little bit about it, but I'll tell you what, I give you a whole ceremony on the light. They give you a whole thing.
Sign us up for another session on the light.
On the light, I got to tell you, because, well, that's exactly what happens. I tell you that, just kind of give you it broad, what happens is all of a sudden that tree goes in the light for me. Okay. It totally goes in the light. I know when it's got the treatment because it goes into the light. And that's it. There is no doubt in my mind. Now I'll continue writing the treatment down. Okay. But the tree is already there because it sees the opportunity. It's gone. Okay. It's moving on. Okay. I'm growing. I'm moving on.
They get the healing so much faster than we do.
Yeah. No, they don't have all these human blockages. We get all this stuff. Well, what happens if this and this? Yeah. They don't
all of our wounds, all of our traumas.
Yeah, that's right.
Excuses.
That's right. Yeah.
They don't have them.
They don't have any of that. No.
And Basha, same question to you. It's sort of, how has this affected your own consciousness and spirituality?
Yeah. Also deeply, gosh, the thing about what my role in this is that I have to have the experience. And frankly, I did not start from a gifted place like I believe Jim did. I started from sort of, curiosity, expanding my connection with the divine. That's how I started in life. I was on this path of discovery. And then I believe that the trees definitely helped me along that. But in my role in this work, I both have to have the experience, and then I'm the one that has to put words to it. And with Jim, I have to draw words out of him and explanations. It's harder because he's so much more in the experience of it. So to express this work in classes, in talks like this, we have to collaborate together very hard to get to figure out how to say this. And I still, the original experience that I have with the tree, with the appearance of the knowings, that's how, see, because that's more how I operate, is in, they talk to me, so I hear and I see. Those are my two strongest sense. And out of that, the knowings appear. And it's been a journey to get that confidence to acknowledge, yeah, I really can do this. And I believe there's a purpose in that for me, not getting the gift to begin with, but to have to go through that journey because so many other people have.
And you're like the rest of us.
Exactly. So I can say, look, this wasn't easy for me. It wasn't easy for me to trust to begin with. I had to develop that, and I had to make those leaps. So it's been so spiritually expansive and a real trip.
Well, Marilyn Marks has a little something here that I think I'll read just as we close, because it so beautifully acknowledges the mastery of both of you and speaks to the essence of what we're here for. And that is, she's saying, Jim and Basha have done distance healing with the trees and shrubs in my yard from New Jersey to Vermont. And they are doing so well as a community of green beings. Jim listened to the tree and heard what the challenge was and what the tree wanted. This really works. And I talk to the whole ecosystem on a regular basis, and it makes a difference. And the plants give me back much love and joy and appreciation. And they also try to heal me and send energy to me. So thank you for that, Marilyn. I think that summarizes the essence of what we've been trying to cover over the last 2 days, that the symbiotic relationship between humans and trees is as close as our consciousness will allow and enable.
That's right.
And so the key is to expand our consciousness in the kind of meditative modality that Basha led us in on both days, to encompass the tree. And as you've been saying over and over, Jim, go inside the tree and overcome your own human centricity and allow the larger ecosystem to envelop both of you in a spirit of nurturance and compassion and mutual healing.
Well said.
I think that's the essence of what you two both do.
Well said, Jim. Well said.
Thank you for
well
that.
said. Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you. And that brings us to a close. Beautiful, heartful session. I feel warm and fuzzy all over.
That's
great. And we just have to add, there's an emergency out there on the planet. Please go to BioBalia Institute school.teachable.com. Get that free course. It's simple, quick, and easy. And go out with your trees and do this.
Mindful methods.
Do these mindful methods.
Yeah.
For the trees. This is for the trees.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Beautiful session. Beautiful session.
Thank you.
And that'll bring us to a close for today. Tomorrow, we're going to be meeting with a ecosystem whisperer. that works with whole ecosystems in Europe to heal ecosystems, including trees, and is going to be leading us into a session on intuition, because he believes that the key to expanding your consciousness to include a whole ecosystem is our intuition. And so that'll be tomorrow on Humanity Rising. You're all welcome to join the after session chat group. Today, you'll see the link in the chat box. Abasha, Jim, love you. And you're doing such important work. And I thank you very, very deeply.
And
Thank
love
you.
you,
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.